Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation. On the refusal of the sons to obey the order of their father, there was much anger generated in the mind of Brahma, which he tried to control or not express. Purport. Brahma is the director in charge of the mode of passion of material nature. Therefore, it was natural for him to become angry on the refusal of his sons to obey his order. Although the Kumaras were right in such acts of refusal, Brahma, being absorbed in the mode of passion, could not check his passionate anger. He did not express it, however, because he knew that his sons were far enlightened in spiritual advancement, and thus he should not express his anger before them. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. So we are reading from the 12th chapter. So in the previous verses, we have read about Lord Brahma and his devotional service of secondary creation. So as part of this secondary creation, he created 5 kinds of nescience activities. Then after, once he understood that what those kind of activities are not actually suitable for the human beings, for the welfare, so then he feels very disgusted, and then he undergoes tapasya and he purifies himself. And with that purified consciousness, it starts further creation. So the next creation was the 4 Kumaras, those who were generated from the mind of Lord Brahma. So after Kumaras were created, he ordered them to increase the progeny, to be engaged in the process of creation, but they said they are not at all interested in this material activity. So then Brahma became little agitated with the refusal of their sons. So today's verse refers to, on the refusal of the sons to obey the order of their father, there was much anger generated in the mind of Brahma, which he tried to control and not express. So obviously, when a father orders a son to carry out some duty, so if he refuses, it's very natural for a father to become angry. But here, Brahma, even though he is the director in charge of the mode of passion of material nature, so it's very common for him to become angry. But Brahmaji also knew that his sons, the 4 Kumaras, are not ordinary living entities. They are actually spiritually very, very far ahead with respect to the enlightenment in spiritual advancement. So then he understood that it's not right to express anger in front of them. So he tried to he did not express that anger in front of them. Even though he was angry, he was containing his anger within himself actually. So why was that Brahmaji could not express his anger? So that reason is mentioned in the last 2 verses, where the 4 Kumaras are mentioned as Urdhva Retasaha. That means those who are they were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their semens flowing upwards. That means they were so controlled in their sensual activities. They had complete control over all their senses, including the genital. And their semen flowing upward means the spiritually highly advanced souls. So they utilize the semen, which has a potency to create a life for the spiritual enlightenment, for the development of the finer tissues in their brain. Like Shukadeva Goswami is also referred to in the Bhagavatam as Urdhvaretha. So he is also one such spiritually enlivened soul who was not wasting his semen, but whereas he was utilizing. That's why semens flowing upwards, it is mentioned. So Kumaras were already situated in that spiritual advancement level. So then the next verse which mentions that when Brahma says that to create progeny, when they said no, so Brahma also knew that they were not ordinary living entities. So in the previous verse, 5th verse, Prabhupada quotes a verse from Bhagavatam, which is Devarshi Bhutabdal Nanam Pitrunam. So those living entities are those spirit souls, human beings, those who are engaged in the direct service of the Supreme Lord, those who have completely surrendered unto the Supreme Lord. They need not have to perform any such obligatory duties in this world. Sometimes their activities may be not in alignment with the rules and regulations of this material world, but they are actually exempted from all these activities, all these obligatory duties which they have for human beings, other living entities, father, mother, demigods, their forefathers. So they are not at all accountable for any of these activities because they are completely situated in the transcendental service of the Lord. So then, because they are completely surrendered, that is the exemption given, that they need not have to undergo these kind of material so-called moral principles, so-called ethical principles, ethical or so-called duties of this material world. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, in one of the verse, Prabhupada in the purport mentions that a surrendered devotee. Who is surrendered devotee in that way? What is the definition of a surrendered devotee? Of course, materially, outwardly speaking, we have all have surrendered to the service of the Lord. To some extent, given up the worldly affairs, the so-called attachment in the material world. So does this enough to prove that we are surrendered? But whereas Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions about what are the symptoms of surrender. Famously, we all know 6 principles of surrender. So basically, that's originally taken from, but originally elaborated by Sanatana Goswami in Haribhakta Vilasa. So that that is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Madhya Leela, which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami quotes that same verse. So what are those 6 principles of surrender? Or what are the characteristics of a devotee who is completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord? So he mentions that Anukulasya Sankalpa, Pratikulasya Varjanam, Rakshaisha Titi Vishwaso, Gopatrute Varnanam, Atma Nikshepa and Karpanye. These are the 6 principles of surrender, are characteristics which get manifested in a devotee who is completely surrendered to the Lord. So what are those? First one is Anukulasya Sankalpa. So what is Anukulasya Sankalpa? Even in Nectar of Instruction, this principle is explained, that one should accept things which are favorable for the devotional service. And then Pratikulasya Varjanam, which are the activities which are not favorable for Krishna consciousness. Those should be given up. Completely devotee should be aloof from those activities which doesn't help him to become Krishna conscious. Then third principle is Rakshaishyati Vishwasa. So which very elaborately Prabhupada mentions in the purport. What is the Rakshaishyati Vishwasa? So that Vishwasa means faith. So Rakshaishyati Vishwasa means having a firm faith that Krishna will protect me. So that Prabhupada in the purport elaborates what is that actually principle. A devotee must be firmly convinced that Krishna will give him protection. No one else can actually give one protection, and being firmly convinced of this called faith. Like Prahlad Maharaj prayers from the 7th canto, he prays that all our family members, father, mother, relatives, all our patronage, or our education will not be able to help us, or neither the doctor nor the medicines. These things will not be able to help us. This will not be able to protect us. Who will protect? Only the Supreme Lord. Even when we take medicine, there is one Sanskrit statement which generally people chant, that Aushadam Chintayanto Vishnu. Means when we are taking medicines, then we chant Sri Vishnu, no? So they say Aushadam Chintayanto Vishnu. So when we are taking medicines, we have to actually remember Vishnu, not the doctor. Why is that? Because even though the doctor may be giving medicine, he is prescribed the medicine. Actually, if Lord wishes, then only that medicine will work on us. If the Lord has decided not to protect us, no doctor, no medicines can actually protect us. So that is the meaning of Gopatrate Vishwasa. Further, Prabhupada mentions, this kind of faith is different from the faith of an impersonalist who want to merge into Brahman effulgence. A devotee wants to remain always in the Lord's service in this way. Krishna is merciful to his devotee and gives him all protection. So this is the third principle. Then fourth principle is Rakshayati Vishwasa is the third. Fourth one is Gopatrute Varanam. Varanam means accepting. Accepting Krishna as Gopatrute means Krishna as guardian, like father, husband, master or maintainer. So third principle said that Krishna is the only protector. Rakshaishyati Vishwasa, having a firm faith. But what is the difference between third and fourth? Third one is accepting Krishna as the only protector. Then fourth one is Gopajute Varanam. Having thoroughly convinced that Krishna is the master, accepting Krishna as the master, husband, or ultimate protector. So that Prabhupada clarifies here what is the difference actually. The devotee should accept Krishna as the supreme maintainer and master, not only protector. Protector is one who actually protects from all dangers, but there has to be someone who has to maintain daily. We need food, we need intelligence at certain point of time. Correct, right? Even to remember Krishna, we need that intelligence. So who will provide all those things? So that one Prabhupada mentions that Krishna has his maintainer and master. You should not think that he is being protected by a demigod. You should depend only on Krishna, considering him only the protector. The devotee must be firmly convinced that within the three words, he has no protector or maintainer other than Krishna. This principle will further is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. We'll come to that little later. That how Krishna is the only maintainer and protector both for a devotee. Then fifth one is Atma Nikshepa. Atma Nikshepa means self-surrender. Self-surrender, completely surrender to the Supreme Lord without any second thought. So the Atma Nikshepa is self-surrender means remembering that one's activities and desires are not independent. The devotee is completely dependent on Krishna and he acts and thinks as Krishna desires. He acts and thinks as Krishna desires, not as per his own desire. Best example is Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and Arjuna Samvada. So in the first chapter, if you hear Arjuna's arguments and logic he has put forward in front of Krishna, not to fight. So if any sane man, if he reads that, everything looks very fair. Arjuna is not talking anything which is unfair. He is telling that, I don't want to fight. What will I achieve by killing all my kinsmen, all my relatives, friends, everyone? Even after killing all these people and I'll achieve the kingdom, and how will I enjoy alone? So I want to be with all my family members. So materially speaking, morally speaking, this is a very good principle. He's saying, if I kill all these people, their wives and children, they will be unprotected. Then when the women are unprotected, Varana Shankara will happen. There will be no one to take care of the old age people. Then there will be no one to give oblations to the forefathers. So all these principles looks very, very logical. But what Krishna says in the second chapter, you are talking like a pandita, nanu sochanti panditaha. You are talking like a pandita, but you are a fool. You are a fool. So that's what, the principle Atma Nikshepa means. Our desires and our activities should be in alignment with Krishna's activities. If I think that, something is good for me, something is not good for me, that may not be not necessarily true. Because what Krishna has said true, that is true. So that's the fifth principle of surrender. A devotee, he will never think on his own. He will think on his own, but that will be in 100% alignment with Krishna's thinking and Krishna's activities. That's what entire Bhagavad Gita proves, that Krishna says, you do whatever I say. If you do this, you will become glorified. And Arjuna did that and Arjuna became glorified. So then next principle is Sharanagati. Atma Nikshepa. Then last principle is Karpanya. Karpanya shed with a Sharanagati. Karpanya means humility. So Prabhupada finally it says that a devotee is meek and humble. So he is very humble. He will accept what Krishna says, what Krishna's devotee says. So these are the 6 principles of surrender. Or on the other hand, we can say the 6 characteristics of a devotee who is self-surrendered to the Supreme Lord, who is completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord. So when Brahmaji was able to see, because Brahma himself is a self-realized soul, he could see that, Kumaras are also self-realized devotees. That's why they are right in saying that, denying his order. So even though he became angry, he did not outwardly show that. He did not express in front of the Kumaras. This is the one principle which we can understand. Then second, so a devotee who is surrendered actually receives unlimited protection from the Supreme Lord. Surrender, which is directly proportionate to the protection. So that's why devotees are, they are known as Abhayam, Akuto Bhayam. That means that they don't have any fear of any of the weapons or any demigods or any demons or any such material thing in this world which makes them afraid of. They are not at all afraid of anything actually. Why is that? Because they know that Krishna is my ultimate protector. And if I am surrendered to Krishna, he will definitely give me protection, which no one else can give that assurance that ultimate protection no one else can give. Everyone, whatever they can give is actually a temporary protection, like father, mother, or doctor, medicine, which Prahlad Maharaj quotes. But ultimate protector is Krishna only. So this Krishna himself explains in the Bhagavad Gita a very important principle, that in the 9th canto, Krishna says, Ananyayas chintayanto mam ejana paryupasate tesham nithabhiyuktanam yogakshema mahamyaham. Those who worship me with devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. So this is again Krishna's personal words, which he is saying that those who are worshipping me with devotion and meditating on my transcendental form, Ananyayas chintayanto mam. Those who are in the chinta, those who are in my thinking, ananya, without any cessation. Ananya means actually no other. So Krishna is protecting. Here there are two important words, yoga and kshemam. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham, which Prabhupada elaborates in the purport about what is yoga and what is kshema. So Prabhupada says, the devotee's desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And before that, Prabhupada says, one who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours. Being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, etc. Navavida Bhakti, lotus feet of the Lord, rendering service, cultivating friendship and surrendering fully to the Lord. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies. Indeed, they make the devotee perfect in self-realization. So the devotee becomes perfect in self-realization by practicing Bhakti Yoga through any of the Navavida Bhaktis which are mentioned here. Then, once he becomes perfect in self-realization, what happens? Then his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Lord. So when he becomes perfect in his spiritual realization or self-realization, he desires only the association of Krishna. This is called as yoga. So yoga in different places, Prabhupada has given different definitions. So one of the definition mentioned here is that when a devotee who becomes perfect in self-realization through any of the Navavida Bhaktis, so when he becomes perfect, then what happens? He desires to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called yoga. So Prabhupada explains yoga. Then Prabhupada next further explains about kshema. So by the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to this material creation of life. Kshema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. Yoga is what actually Krishna himself is guiding the devotee. Because all these Navavida Bhaktis will help devotee to achieve Krishna, think of more about Krishna. That is actually achieved by the mercy of Krishna only. So when devotee comes to that stage, then what Krishna does is that by the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to this material condition of life. Kshema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. So even after devotee is obtained self-realization, he has become perfect in self-realization, even after that, Krishna's protection is required so that he may not fall down again. He may not fall down again because Yadgatvana nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Once after going there, you will never return from Goloka Vrindavan. But it's a fact that living entities can fall down even from Goloka Vrindavan. So that's also true. So not to fall once after going back to Godhead, not to fall back into this material world. For that also, Krishna's protection is required. That is known as kshema. So then, yoga and kshema put together, Prabhupada summarizes that what is the meaning of yoga kshema. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga. I'll repeat, the Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga, and when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable condition of life. So even to come to the platform of bhakti, it is Lord's mercy only. It's because of Lord's mercy. Then after we become perfect, reach the perfectional stage, Even after that, the Lord takes care of a devotee so that he may not fall down to a miserable condition of life again. This is known as Yoga Kshema. So through this proves that Lord is not interested only as long as we are in this material world. Sometimes some devotees or some neophyte devotees, they say, Prabhu, actually I am such an insignificant soul, engaged in all kinds of nonsense activity, all kinds of sinful activities. How can I expect that Krishna will protect me? Because Krishna has so many living entities. He has so many devotees. He's surrounded by so many devotees. His intimate devotees. He's engaged in his pastimes. When will he get time to look into my protection? How will he actually protect me? But whereas every jiva has an individual, exclusive relationship with Krishna. From the Krishna's point of view, a fallen soul as well as a great devotee, both are equal. But he reciprocates more to a devotee because the devotee is also putting his endeavor towards Krishna. But otherwise, Krishna's reciprocation or Krishna's mercy is equally there for both the kinds of devotees, a conditioned soul as well as a realized soul. So, in this way, you can understand Krishna, even after we go back to Godhead, he takes so much care of us so that we will not fall down. That is known as Kshema. Yoga Kshema Mahamyaham. That's what explained in this verse. So, this Yoga Kshema Mahamyaham, this statement, the statement of Bhagavad Gita Krishna, that we can actually practically see in the life of Raghunath Das Goswami. How Krishna, in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, helped him to come to Krishna consciousness. And even after coming to Krishna consciousness, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through his different associates, he was taking care of Raghunath Das Krishna himself, as well as through his devotees taking care of Raghunath Das Goswami as a very young and affectionate child. So today is Panyati Chidadahi Mahotsav. This is also known as Festival of Punishment. So, it's very important to understand, how Kumaras are, self-realized souls. They are actually going against the will of their Lord, will of their Father. Similar case is what Raghunath Das Goswami's life we can see actually. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he was one of the 6 Goswamis. He was the first one among all the 6 Goswamis who met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he was fortunate enough, from his very childhood, he was brought up in a Krishna conscious atmosphere. So he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was 15-year-old, very young boy at that time. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first, when he takes sannyas, so that was the time even though his parents were not agreeing, he forcefully ran away to the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. Which is that place? Katwa. He goes to that place and he had darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So let us try to understand that practical principles are, how this principle of surrender was personally manifesting in the life of Raghunath Das Goswami, and how we can take instructions from his life for our devotional practices. So Raghunath Das Goswami was born in 1495, and he lived up to 1586. So he lived for how many years? He lived for 91 years. So then in his entire life, starting from his birth, it's worthy to relish, remember and understand and assimilate. So he was so fortunate that when he was a young boy means maybe around a 3 or 4 year old. So his father was a very big Jamindar, Hiranmay Majumdar, Govardhan Majumdar and his uncle. So both. So they were very wealthy men. So they had one family priest. His name was Balram Acharya. And they had a guru also. His name was Raghunandan Acharya. So Balram Acharya was the one who actually was blessed by Haridas Thakur. He had received the mercy of Haridas Thakur at some point of time. So when the pastime happens where when Ramachandra Khan was there in the village of what is that village name was? Benapol. In the village named as Benapol, Ramachandra Khan was there. So he wanted to defame Haridas Thakur, because Haridas Thakur, being a great saintly person, he was engaged in the chanting of 3 lakh names in a day, every day. So his fame was growing. So he wanted to defame him. So he sent one prostitute. So after that, we all know that, how Haridas Thakur even liberated that prostitute. So after that, Haridas Thakur decides that no, this is not a right place to live. So he moves from Benapol to the village known as village where Balram Acharya was staying. Balram Acharya and Yadunandan Acharya, they were staying actually. So Balram Acharya, being a family priest of Raghunath Goswami's father, so he takes Raghunath Goswami to Haridas Thakur. So then at a very young age, he had darshan of Haridas Thakur and received his blessings. So Chaitanya Charitamrita explains this, how Haridas Thakur, Raghunath Das Goswami received his mercy. In the Antya Leela, this description is given. Haridasera Kripa Patra Thate Bhakti Mane Yatna Khari Thakurere Rakhile Sei Grame. Balram Acharya, being favored by Haridas Thakur, were very much attached to him. Therefore, he kept Haridas Thakur in the village with great attention, with great care and attention. So, Balram Acharya only said, please come to my village and you be here only. Then, Nirjana Parna Shalaya Karena Kirtan, Balram Acharya Grihe Bhiksha Nirvahan. In the village, Haridas Thakur was given a solitary thatched cottage where he performed the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. He accepted prasad at the house of Balram Acharya. Then, Raghunath Dasa Bhalaka Karena Adhyayan, Haridasa Thakureri Yei Karena Darshan. Raghunath Das, who was the son of Govardhan Majumdar and was later to become Raghunath Das Goswami, was at that time a boy engaged in study. He came to see Haridas Thakur daily. He used to come to see Haridas Thakur daily. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions that because he was having a daily darshan, he was merciful to receive, he was fortunate enough to receive the mercy of Haridas Thakur, which was actually the reason because of his mercy only he was able to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the later ages of his life. So how we hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita only that Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Even moments of association of a devotee is so important. So because of association of Haridas Thakur, through in the form of his darshan only, Raghunath Das Goswami became very fortunate soul. Then, so Raghunath Das Goswami had taken a very austere life. Before even he took a mendicant life, so he was engaged in his family affairs. So he was not at all interested in any of his family affairs. His father and his uncle, they were very rich people. So that Saptagram area where he took birth, so that entire village, including 7 villages, so that tax collection responsibility was given to his father and uncle. So the agreement was that they should pay 12 lakh gold coins to the Muslim king, Pathan. But whereas they were actually collecting 20 lakhs gold coins. That means 8 lakh gold coins was their cut. Their extra money which they can use it for their own maintenance. So 12 lakh they used to pay back. So 8 lakh gold coins at that point of time in 15th century is a very big money. So they were very rich. But his son was not at all interested in any of the material affairs. So he used to always hanker to go and meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he first meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was took sannyasa. So after that, he happens to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu second time. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to a nearby village. So then he goes and meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he requests that, now I don't want to live in this material home at all. I want to come and serve you. So what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said? Very important statements from Chaitanya Charitamrita. What Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. So after Raghunath Goswami submits his request that I want to serve you, I want to join your Sankirtan movement. So initially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually discourages him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Markata Vairagya na kara loka dekhana, yatha yogya vishaya bunja anasakta hana. You should not make yourself a show bottle devotee and become a false renunciant. For the time being, enjoy material world in the befitting way and do not become attached to it. So Markata Vairagya, don't show Markata Vairagya. Wait for right time. So in this purport, Prabhupada quotes Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's purport to this verse, where Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that outwardly a monkey looks very, very, very detached. renunciant. He's not at all attached to anything. How? The monkey is living on a tree, not wearing any clothes, eating only whatever, it gets some leaves, some fruit, some water, not accumulating anything. In that way, monkey looks very, very renounced. But whereas actually the monkey life, if you see, the monkeys are too much attached to sense pleasure, especially sex life. So we should not show that kind of a vairagya, but whereas we should show yukta vairagya. So further Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preaches to Raghunath Goswami about yukta vairagya. Antare nishtha khare bahya loka vyavahar achirat Krishna tomaya karibe uddhar. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, within your heart you should keep yourself very faithful. Within your heart you should keep very faithful to Krishna, but externally you may behave like an ordinary man. Thus, Krishna will soon be very pleased and deliver you from the clutches of Maya. This is known as Yukta Vairagya. What is Yukta Vairagya? We need not have to show that I am a sannyasi, I am not wearing any clothes, I am very austere. In the winters, I am not wearing any sweater. That may not be required. But you keep that bhakti within. What is that? That within your heart, you should keep yourself very faithful. But externally, you may behave like ordinary man. This is the principle our acharyas have taught us. Not to become a show bottle spiritual practitioners. We should become practical. We should practice the Yukta Vairagya. Then, further Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, you may see me at Nilachal, Jagannath Puri, when I return after visiting Vrindavan. By that time, you can think of some trick to escape. So this transcendental Leela is going on from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. From maybe we can say time immemorial. It's not new. Then, से चला से खाले कृष्ण स्पुराबे तुम्हारे कृष्ण कृपा यान रे थारे रे राखीले पारे. What kind of means you will have to use at that time will be revealed by Krishna. Means to how to escape from the family life. So what kind of means you will have to use at that time will be revealed by Krishna. If one has Krishna's mercy, no one can check him. So he was telling my family, I have tried so many times, my family is actually not living. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is assuring him that if one has Krishna's mercy, no one can check. So be rest assured. We wait for that right time. Further, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains, Yetha Kali Mahaprabhu Tandra Vidayatila, Gare Ase Mahaprabhura Shiksha Acharila. In this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to Raghunath Das, who returned home and did exactly what the Lord told him. So the Lord had told him, you go, within the heart, you worship Lord Shri Krishna, completely surrender unto him, but outwardly, you act as if, in a normal Vyavaharik level, you can perform your duties. So, by following the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath continued for some time. Even his parents got him married. So, even after the marriage, Raghunath Das Goswami was not at all interested in any of these family affairs. So, one day, when they see that Raghunath Das Goswami was not even sleeping in the room with his wife. He was sleeping outside. So his mother becomes worried. And he comes to his husband, Govardhan Majumdar, and says that, see, till now we were happy that our son is performing all the duties. But see, he is actually outwardly is doing all these things, but internally is not at all interested in any of these material affairs. So I think we should not take any chance. We should bind him with ropes and strong iron shackles so that he may not run away. Maybe he is waiting for a right opportunity to run away, so we should bind. So then his husband replies that, you are a mother, out of affection you are talking like this. But see the fact, the greatest affection in this material world is what? Wife, family, attraction to the opposite sex. Even that Bhagavatam says that is the greatest shackle which is binding us to this material world. So even that opposite sex or his wife, his beautiful wife, is not able to attract him, not able to bind him to this world. What will your iron or cotton rope will do? That will have no effect. So this is actually fact. Or a person who is actually physically bound by using any rope or iron shackle easily can escape. But the bondage of this material world in the form of family, in the form of our responsibility, that is very, very, very difficult to come out. So when that itself is not able to bind him, what your other things will bind? So they almost lost hope actually. So then Raghunath Das Goswami was waiting for the right opportunity. So what he was doing, he was actually behaving as if he is actually performing. He was remembering Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's words and praying to Krishna that please guide me. When will that right time will come where I can go and join the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, when I can completely surrender unto the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was always thinking of that instead of any of the material wealth, wife, family members. So then once he comes to know that Nityananda Prabhu and other associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they have come to Panihatti village. So then he wanted to have darshan of Nityananda Prabhu. So he goes there, and Nityananda Prabhu and all other associates on the banks of the Ganges underneath a tree. So they were sitting and they were doing kirtan. They were engaged in the Krishna, hearing the Krishna's pastimes. So Raghunath Das Goswami from the far end, he was standing somewhere in the end and with the folded hands, and he was actually praying to Nityananda Prabhu. He was trying to have a glimpse of Nityananda Prabhu. So Nityananda Prabhu immediately recognizes that there is one thief standing in the backside. Please bring him to the front. Catch him and bring him to the front. Everyone will think that, he would have done some big mistake. That's why Nityananda Prabhu is calling him a thief. So they all brought him. Then he offered prostrated obeisances. Then he says, you are a thief. You instead of coming to me and having darshan from the front, you are hiding somewhere in the behind like a thief, and you are having darshan like that. That's why I am going to give you a punishment. That's why this Panihatti festival is known as Festival of Punishment. So I am going to give a punishment that for all these devotees, you should arrange huge feast. So Raghunath Das Goswami feels very blessed by the chastisement, the lovely chastisement of Nityananda Prabhu, and punishment, blessing in the form of punishment. So then he offers again prostrate obeisances, and Nityananda Prabhu keeps his lotus feet on the head of Raghunath Das Goswami. So that's the second time he receives the mercy of another Vaishnava, another great Vaishnava. First it was Haridas Thakur, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then third time it is Nityananda Prabhu. So then he arranges a big feast because he was the son of a Jamindar. So he had gone with his his guards, his family, his father and mother had appointed many guards to protect him so that he should not run away from the home. So then he orders them, go and bring whatever is available in the nearby villages. So what was available? Chipped rice, milk, condensed milk, curd, some dry fruits, fruit. So this is the season of mango, right? So mango, lot of mangoes were available. So they brought all the fruits. So that's how Panihatti festival. Probably in the evening we can hear that pastime very, very elaborately. So this in this way Panihatti festival was celebrated. That's how this became one of the integral part of Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition to celebrate Panihatti Chiradahi Mahamahotsav. So in this way Raghunath Das Goswami receives the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, and not only Nityananda Prabhu, actually mystically even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears at such place. So only Raghunath Das Goswami and Nityananda Prabhu could see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appearing there. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come. He was, Nityananda Prabhu was putting one morsel of Chidada into Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mouth, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was putting a morsel of Chidada into Nityananda Prabhu's mouth. So only Nityananda Prabhu and Raghunath Das Goswami could see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appearing in that Chidadahi festival in the Panihatti village. So this way, Raghunath Das Goswami received immense blessings from Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu. So then one fine day, when his guru, Yadunandan Acharya, he comes rushing because he had to go to some emergency, from some family responsibility. He tells that, please find some Brahmana and tell him to take care of my deities for at least 2-3 days till I come back. So then he tells, okay, let us go to find a Brahmana. I'll carry on to my responsibility. I have to go somewhere. You find a Brahmana. So because he was going with Yadunandan Acharya, the spiritual master, gods also did not stop him. They said, okay, let him go. Otherwise, he was not allowed to go out alone. So then Raghunath Das Goswami thinks that this is the right opportunity, that I should opportunity to join the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu full time. So then he goes, finds one Brahmana, and he tells him to take care of the deities of Yadunandan Acharya. Then immediately from there, he goes towards not towards, away from Puri. Because he knew that if he goes towards Puri on the route from his village to Puri, his father will send guards. So definitely they will come behind and they will catch him and bring him back to the house. So he goes in an opposite route. So that's how it took almost 12 days for him to reach Jagannath Puri. So in the 12 days, he hardly had food. For only 3 days he had food. So he had become very thin, lean, and because it was not a regular route, through the forest he has to pass by so many thorns were there, fatigue, because of sunlight he had, he was very, very tired. In that condition he reaches Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when he reaches Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there in Gambhira at that time. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu calls his personal secretary, Swarup Damodar, and tells him that you please take care of him very nicely. So he entrusted his responsibility to Swarup Damodar Goswami because further preaching, further guidance has to be required in the spiritual life also. So then Raghunath Das Goswami started staying in Jagannath Puri. So he underwent a very, 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 very severe life. So he had taken a vow of chanting 1 lakh names every day. This comes to around 64 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So 1 lakh rounds he used to chant, and then he would offer 2,000 obeisances to the Lord Sri Krishna. 1,000 obeisances to Krishna and 2,000 obeisances to the Vaishnavas, to the devotees of the Lord. So this was his Nitya Seva. He had taken that as a oath to offer those many obeisances and chant those many rounds. And we know that Jagannath Puri, how he was living a very, very, very austere life. Initially, he used to go stand outside the Jagannath Mandir, and when sevaks come out, so they would give some Jagannath Mahaprasad and he would honor that. But one fine day, he feels that my life has become like a prostitute, waiting for some master to come and satisfy me. What kind of life is this? I should actually depend on Supreme Lord instead of depending on anyone else. So then he stops standing at that place and receive the bhiksha. Then he thinks, anyway, whenever someone comes and gives, then only I'll take. Then after that, next stage, he decides that after the Jagannath Mahaprasadam Bhoga is cooked, once it is offered, entire kitchen is cleaned. So once the kitchen is cleaned, all the leftover grains from the vessels and also the spilled over grains, so they comes to to the drain, right? So he would stand outside the drain and collect those grains, rice, dal, or any other grain items, and he would wash them and he would eat. And he would sustain by eating only that. So one fine day, actually previously, because he was a son of a Jamindar, right? His father used to send some money for the maintenance. So using that money, he used to give a very frequent feast to the Vaishnavas, including Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would invite Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and offer love feasts very often. But he stops that also. He tells his father that not to send any more money. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thinks that Raghunath Das, he very frequently used to call all of us for the feast. These days he is not even calling us, and he was not even visible also. Where is he eating? What is he doing? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes one day, he finds that he is collecting all those grains, washing that and eating, sustaining on those grains. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, you are like a thief, you are not giving me. You are eating alone, you are relishing alone the Jagannath Mahaprasadam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu collects some grains from his hand, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally honors that. And then says, yes, it's a Mahadananda. So like Ananda which I used to get when you used to call me for the fees. So same Ananda I am getting by eating the remnants of Lord Jagannatha's kitchen. So in this way, he lived for 91 years, after Jagannath Puri. Once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu winds up his manifested pastimes, he comes to Vrindavan. So he was living in a great separation from Radha and Krishna. So how we discussed about a devotee one who is completely surrendered, Krishna will definitely give protection, yoga kshemam. So that example actually is exemplified in the life of Raghunath Das Goswami. So Chaitanya Charitamrita says that Radha and Krishna, they used to actually sometimes stop their leelas, their eternal leelas, and come to protect Raghunath Das Goswami, because he used to be sitting in the sunlight, in the summer scorching sunlight, and he would be chanting on the banks of Radha Kund. So to protect him from the sunlight, Radharani used to come and using the the far end of her sari, she used to cover him from sunlight. And that time Radha Kund was actually very just Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami has renovated, so it was covered with thick forest. So a lot of ferocious animals used to come, wild animals used to come to drink water in Radha Kund and Shyam Kund. So Raghunath Das Goswami, when he is chanting, Krishna used to stand in one corner with his stick, with his used to take one stick for the cow herding, right? So he used to hold that stick and wait so that no wild animals should disturb Raghunath Das Goswami while he is chanting. So it's a practical demonstration of Yogakshemam Mahamyaham. So what is Yogakshema? That Prabhupada mentions that Krishna will only give that intelligence for a devotee to become perfect in self-realization. That happened in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then even after he became self-realized, Krishna is protecting him from all other dangers. So Krishna and Radharani personally used to come and protect Raghunath Das Goswami from those wild animals, from the scorching sunlight. Of course, as devotees, we never expect that from Krishna. Sanatan Goswami chastises Raghunath Das Goswami that what kind of disservice you are doing actually. By sitting in the sunshine and sitting openly like this, you are actually troubling Radha and Krishna. They are coming to personally protect you. Why don't you make one hut and sit in the bhajan kutir and chant so that they are relieved? Radharani need not have to come to protect you from the sunlight. Krishna need not have to come and stand protecting from the wild animals. So it's another principle. As Vaishnavas, we never expect any service from Krishna. We always want to serve Krishna. So this is the teachings of our parampara, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So our acharyas have exemplified all these principles in different pastimes. So today is Paniyati Chidadahi Mahotsav, where Raghunath Das Goswami received a unlimited mercy from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu in the form of punishment. I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.